Hello students, welcome to online classes of Geography of Class 8. This is my last class of your chapter number 5, Minerals and Power Resources. Now the topics that are listed for today's discussion are conservation of energy resources and the exercises. Conservation of the energy resources and the exercises. Now, first of all, why we should conserve the energy resources? What is the need of conservation of the energy resources? Now, the first reason that is given over here, it's to reduce the living expenses. Now, what does this mean? Now, when we all are there in a room, the entire family members are sitting in a dining room, and unnecessarily the lights and the fans are on for the living room or the drawing room or the bedroom. So if we are not present in those rooms, it is our responsibility to switch off those lights and fans which are not in use. So why do we do so? So that the electric bill that we have to pay at the end of a month or maybe quarterly, whatever that is the time period it is, we have to pay the bill. So it will not be the higher amount. Gradually the amount will be within our limits when we are switching off the lights when it is not used. So in this way, if we are becoming much more aware about all these things, that we have to switch on and off whenever it is needed, the electric appliances, then obviously our living expenses will get reduced or will reduce. Next is benefits the environment and protects wildlife. Now, how it benefits the environment? The polluting gases are emitted out when we used to burn the fossil fuels, when we are using the fossil fuels. So when all these poisonous gases are emitted out in the environment, obviously the quality of the environment degrades, and naturally the wildlife that is having their habitat in the natural vegetative areas, when those vegetative parts are getting affected, so obviously these wildlife also get impact of these poisonous gases. So if we are conserving the energy resources, then there will be less emission of the poisonous gases or the noxious fumes, so it will protect the environment as well as it will protect the wildlife. Third, less power plants. Now when we are using more energy resources, when we are using it means what we can say, just to not only to fulfill our needs but to fulfill our greediness. And using the word greediness, not only to fulfill our needs but to fulfill our greediness, that means we are continuously using the energy. Now in this case, energy plant is unable to meet the demand of the society or the requirement. So as a result, the more power plants has to be established, and when more power plants has to be established, that means more extraction of the resources, and then obviously more extraction means more production, more pollution, because everything is related to the conventional energy resources which is developed, and that is why it will be easy to develop more power plants. So if we are conserving the energy resources, then obviously the power plant requirements will not increase, and there will be no such establishment of the power plants. So it will stop degrading the environment, or it will not spread out pollution in the environment. Number 4, promote health. Now when the poisonous gases are continuously emitted out, we inhale all those poisonous gases, and obviously it affects our health. So if unnecessary utilization is being conserved, then obviously the more production will be reduced and the health will not get affected by the emission of those poisonous gases. Number 5, reduce dependence. Now, for more production, we need, suppose I am just explaining about giving one example of the thermal power plant. Now, thermal power plant, what is the requirement for the thermal power plant? The main requirement is the coal. With the help of the coal, the energy is being generated. So, if we are not conserving the energy resources, so obviously more energy requirements is needed, so more coal is required. Now, to get the raw materials for the thermal plant, which that is the economic activity or which sector helps for such activities, it is the transportational network. They are helping the power plants to get the raw materials from the mining areas to the destination part, that is the production areas, that is thermal power plant. So, if we are conserving the energy resources, then there is no need to extract out more coal, and when there is no extraction or more coal, what will be the resultant? The dependence on the other sectors will reduce. We are not going to depend much more for the transportation of the raw material, so the dependence will reduce. Next, finite resources. The fossil fuels are finite, that means they are exhaustible, they are limited, they are not unlimited, they are limited and they are non-renewable resources. So, we have to conserve the energy resources. And lastly, the very important is make a positive impact. Now, positive impact means we are using the resources, that is the energy resources, to fulfill our demands, to fulfill our necessities. But when we are not there only up till the necessity, when we move to the part of the greediness, the profit motive, then obviously all the ill effects of these energy create problems for the society. But when we become much more aware that we have to use only up till to satisfy our basic needs, of satisfy our desires, not to satisfy our greediness. Secondly, we have to make the society aware about its limitations, aware about its that is the disadvantages, that the polluting the environment, affecting the wildlife. Then what is the resultant? We are creating a positive impact in the society. That means the society is becoming much more aware about the well-being of everybody. It is not only of the nature, it is not only of the human being, as well as for the wildlife also. So, this is considered as a positive impact when we think about the conservation of the energy resources. So, these are the 7 reasons why we should conserve the energy resources, or by just summing up, that we can say that energy conservation means energy production. We can say by we can conclude by saying this: when we conserve the energy, that means we are producing the energy for the future generation. Why? Because the energy that has already been produced, we are not using it with beyond its limit, beyond our own limits. We are not using it. We are just using it within a certain limitations, within our own requirement, and maximum is being saved. So, when energy is being saved, that means energy is being produced. So, we can conclude by saying this statement. Now, next is, how can we conserve the energy resource? The most that is the best way to conserve the energy resource is to follow the path of sustainability. Now, that means follow the path of sustainability means thinking for the future generation, but not at a cost of present generation demand. Okay. So we have to conserve it, and secondly we have to switch over from the non-renewable resources to the renewable resources. Now what are the ways? We have to be very much judicious for its utilization. We should not waste the energy. The very important that is the measure, we should not waste it. Secondly, use of public transport system. Now when we all are going to one place, one destination, then everybody is having their own vehicle. So that means petroleum is being used for each and every vehicle. So why we are wasting it? This is called wasting of the that is the energy. So we should opt public transport to reach to that same destination. Switching off electricity when not in use, it's a very common one, and using power saving devices. Now you have seen that there are refrigerators or the AC machines where you have maybe have seen the symbols or the stickers pasted out outside the appliances that it is a power saving device, or it is having a 5-star category for the power saving device. That means such devices which consume very less quantity of the power for its working. So we have to select those. Now why we are switching off from those that is a normal bulb, that is the yellow color bulb, to the CFL bulbs? Why? Because those are consuming less power. So we have to think for those that is the less low power energy consumption devices. And lastly, using non-conventional energy resources which are basically renewable in nature. So in this way we can that is the save the energy resources. Now your exercise question. Now let us first proceed with the MCQ questions. Now the MCQ question, the first one. The MCQ question, the first one. Dash is not a variety of iron ore. Magnetite is a variety of iron ore. Limonite is a variety of iron ore. Siderite is a type of iron ore. In this case, pyrite is, in this case, I am using the word in this case as per your that is the part that is given in your syllabus, the matter that is given in your book, where the name of the pyrite is not being used. But if you search it out in the Google, pyrite is also a category of iron ore. Iron pyrite, we normally used to say iron pyrite. But as per your syllabus or the subject matter that is given in your text, pyrite is not a variety of iron ore. Okay. Now next, tidal power is not generated in Spain. It is generated in Russia, generated in Canada, as well as it is generated in France. Next, CNG gas is compressed natural gas, not neutral, whatever the term it is compressed natural gas. It is obtained from the natural gas. Dash is a non-conventional source of power. Tides, not water. Tides is a non-conventional source of power. Okay, now let us move to the next part, that is state the statement true or false. Copper is a ferrous metal. No, copper is it is false. Copper is a non-ferrous metal. Manganese is used to color pottery and tiles. Yes, manganese is basically having its use to make paints. So when we can make the paints, we can color the tiles, we can color the potteries. So it is true. In India, diamond is mined in Madhya Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh. True. Now next, anthracite is the finest quality coal. Correct. It is the finest quality coal, means the superior quality of the coal. And Ganga Valley Corporation is a big multi-purpose project in India. It is not Ganga Valley Corporation, it is Damodar Valley Corporation, DVC. is a big multi-purpose project in India. So the statement is false. Now, next is the match the column. Next is the match the column. Now, first of all, bauxite. The leading producer of the bauxite is Odisha. The first one is it's Odisha. Coal, that is coal is there for West Bengal. Coal is there in West Bengal. Copper. Copper is major producing areas of the copper as per what is given over here. Actually, gold is there for, let me just proceed in this order, we will find out this thing. Gold is for Karnataka. Iron, okay, let me just erase this part. Let me just erase the bauxite part. Iron is there for Odisha. Iron is there for Odisha. Petroleum is there for Assam. Okay. Next, bauxite is there for Gujarat. Coal is there for West Bengal. Coal is there for West Bengal. So copper, that is left out, it is there for Rajasthan. I am repeating it once again. Bauxite, Gujarat. Coal, West Bengal. Copper, Rajasthan. Gold, Karnataka. Iron, Odisha. Petroleum, Assam. Now next, the fill in the blanks. All minerals have a definite chemical composition. Answer is chemical. Okay, chemical composition. Mica is a non-metallic mineral. Non-metallic mineral. Next, uranium is a nuclear fuel. Nuclear fuel. And in India, tidal power is harnessed in the Gulf of Kutch. In the Gulf of Kutch. So your MCQ part is over. Now let us proceed to the questions, that is question answer part. Now what is a mineral ore? The answer is already there in your copy in a form of a note. So no need to write the answer to this question. The impure part of the mineral present within a rock is termed as mineral ore. Okay, which is in its crude form, it is termed as ore. Name the ore of aluminium. The name of the ore of aluminium is bauxite, and write the name of any 4 countries where it is mined. Now, I asked you to write the distribution of the India part. So, instead of 4 countries, your question will be write the names of any 4 states of India. Any 4 states of India where it is mined. Okay, instead of 4 countries, it will be any 4 states where it is mined. So you can write the answer any 4 state, that is aluminium, that is for the bauxite. We are having Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand, Gujarat, Maharashtra. Many are there. You can write any 4. But for this question, answer is not to be needed to be written because it's already there in your tabular form. But you should know that ore of aluminium is bauxite. It is already given in the uses. Now, what are the different uses of copper? Copper is basically very much indispensable for electrical wires because of its high conductivity. Then it is also used for making brass and bronze, even for the German silver, for making the alloys. So already it is there in your tabular form. No need to write the answer of this question too. Which are the 4 varieties of the coal? Nicely written in the notes. Hopefully it is updated with your within the copy, so no need to repeat the answer of this question too. Mention the 4 uses of natural gas. Now the uses of natural gas is also given in the tabular form. What are its uses? It is basically used for what we can say for using as a LPG, for the domestic fuel, for the industry. Even it acts as a raw material in the fertilizer and the petrochemical, that is for producing plastics and synthetic fibers. So hopefully all these uses are given in the tabular form and it is updated in your copy. If it is not, then you have to write the answer, and if it is already written, then no need to repeat the question and answer once again. Now the next question. Distinguish between thermal electricity and hydel electricity. Now thermal electricity and hydel electricity. I am just writing the basic difference between the thermal and the hydel. This is thermal and this one is hydel. Now the first basis for the energy generation is the source. So here it is coal and here it is water, not tides, water, river water. Okay. Number 2 basis will be its nature. What is the nature of the source of the raw material? It is exhaustible nature and this is inexhaustible nature. Exhaustible and inexhaustible. The hydel one is inexhaustible and the thermal one is exhaustible. That is the second point of difference. Third point, now when we are using the coal as a source of raw material for the thermal, so obviously what will be the cost of production for the thermal? The third point is the cost of production. For the thermal it is costlier and for hydel it is cheaper. It is cheaper. Number 4, when we use the thermal energy, what is its environmental impact? So its environmental impact means it causes pollution, but this is eco-friendly. Hydel is eco-friendly. Okay, it does not creates any sort of, means it does not emits out any poisonous gases. And lastly, but there are some exception in the case of hydel electricity, but of your standard you just keep it in mind that these are eco-friendly. That is hydel generation means when we are generating out the energy, at that time it is eco-friendly, but when we are generating out the thermal energy, it causes pollution because it emits out poisonous gases, so it is polluting in nature. It causes pollution or it is polluting in nature and it is eco-friendly. And lastly, we can say that here once we have generated the energy, it is non-renewable. It is non-renewable. We cannot again get back the source of the energy generation and we can regenerate it. But in this case, it is renewable. Once the water is being used for the energy generation, after the energy is being generated, again we can reuse that same water for the generation of the energy. So it is renewable. So these are the main difference between the thermal and the hydel electricity. Now let us move to the next question. Describe the condition required for the development of water power. So what is the condition that is required? First of all, the condition required is number one, we need a force of falling water. First of all, we know, I am just using my whiteboard once again, just a minute. The condition, this is for the next question, that is conditions of water power. Conditions of water power. So what will be the first point? Number one, perennial water. Perennial water, that means the volume of the water should be same throughout the generation part. If sometimes the water reduces and if sometimes the volume of the water increases, then it will create a problem for the generation of energy. That is why the same the water should be same throughout the year, that is perennial water. Second, the force of water. Force of water should be there. Force of water. It should not be a stagnant water. Force of water. Third, falling water. Third, water falls or falling water. Okay, waterfalls or falling water from a certain height. Falling water from certain height with force. Certain height with force. Next, the next requirement is infrastructure. Infrastructure. And here the infrastructure means construction of reservoir where water can be collected. Construction of reservoir. Now just think of Ayodhya hills where the reservoirs are there, and we term it as a lower dam and the upper dam where the water is being stored out. So construction of the reservoir. Just a minute. Construction of the reservoir. So now next it is, and next attachment of the turbines. Attachment of turbines. So these are the necessary requirements. Attachment of turbines. These are the necessary requirements for the generation of water power. Now the next question. What are non-conventional sources of energy or power? Hopefully the answer is there in your copy. Now name any two which can be used in India. Give reasons for your country. Now any two which can be used in India. Now all are being used in India, but very commonly the one which can be used in India, number one, I am once again proceeding to my whiteboard. Now just a minute. Now the two non-conventional energy resources that can be used in our country, and with reason. Number one is solar energy. Number one is the solar power or solar energy. Now why it is very much having a bright future in our country? Because India is a tropical country. Number one, India is a tropical country. First reason, it is a tropical country. Now when it is a tropical country, that means we are getting nearly a good quantum of sunlight throughout the year. That is why it is very much promising one. That is the first one. And second one, India is having a rural based economy. It is rural. India is having a rural economy maximum, or what we can say agro based economy. So what does this means? That maximum population is having a rural character, and compared to that means we can say nearly 60-40 or nearly 50-50 ratio is there for the rural and urban character. So these are cheaper energy, renewable resources, and it can be easily used to that is for domestic purposes. So as a result, it is having a bright future in our country. Like I have given one best example, the first solar plant in our country was established in Gujarat, in the Bhuj district. And what was their basic motive for establishment of that solar plant? To sterilize the milk cans. Why? Because Gujarat is very rich in dairy farming, so they want to store the milk, and just to store the milk, the milk cans needs to be disinfected. So just for doing the part of disinfecting, the sterilization of milk cans was done with the help of solar energy. Now also it is in progress, means now also they are practicing with that same energy. So that is why solar power is very much promising one. And the second one is wind power. Now the second one is the wind power. Sorry, not the wind power. The second one is not the wind power. Just a minute. Let me just erase this part. The second one is biogas. Another one is the biogas, the non-conventional energy biogas. Why? Because for this, what are the major requirements? That is animal waste, plant waste, and farm waste. So, and if these are the three basic requirements to generate out biogas, which is easily available in our country, because the village areas are having that, they are in a habit of cattle rearing, they are practicing agricultural activity, and with the that is the plant waste also, the energy can be generated when they are collecting it in a what we can say in a that is these wastes are there to collect it in a particular sump or a pit, and then by using it various methods the gas is being generated. Now why I said biogas is much more better for our country, because again the same ratio of rural and urban character, and it benefits the rural areas. It is having a very much important benefit. Why? Because the rural areas, for their domestic purpose, they depends upon firewood. So if the energy is generated from this biogas, then the firewood dependence will reduce, firewood dependency will reduce, okay, dependency will reduce, and this will enhance the environmental condition, first point. Secondly, they can use it for lighting the homes, they can use it for lighting purposes, that cooking purpose and lighting purpose. And thirdly, after the generation of the energy, this is second point. Third point, after the generation of energy, the residue that is left out in a form of a slurry, it just serves the purpose of manure, or it acts as a manure for their agricultural work, for their cultivation purpose. So solar energy and biogas, these are the two very much important non-conventional energy resources that India can opt for the benefit of the villages or for the benefit of the economy. Now next is the next question. It is, what is the need of conserving our mineral resource? Describe the various ways of conservation and mention some methods of conserving power resources. So both the questions of your G is already been done or given in the notes, and if you have updated the notes in your copy, so no need to rewrite the answer once again. Now next, the last think and answer H. Why are coal and petroleum also called fossil fuels? Now why they are considered as a fossil fuels? Because they are originated from the decomposed part of organic matter, and the decomposed part of the organic matter is termed as fossil, and when it helps to generate out energy, when it meets the demand of fuel, so it is termed as fossil fuel. And why do they need to be urgently conserved? Because both the categories of the fossil fuels are exhaustible in nature. So you will write the answer of this question. I am repeating the answer once again. Because both coal and petroleum are formed due to the decaying part or the decomposed part of organic matter, which is termed as fossil, and as they serve the purpose of the fuel, so they are termed as fossil fuel, and they need to be conserved very much because both of them are exhaustible in nature. Now the last question. Nuclear power is the energy for the future. Do you agree? Justify your answer. So what will be the answer to this question? Just a minute. What will be the answer to the last question? What will be the answer to this question that nuclear power can be considered as that is the energy for the future? Yes, we can consider nuclear power as the energy for the future. Why? Nuclear power for the future energy Why? Number one, because it's radiation, because when the nuclear power, because when we are doing the nuclear fission, at that time the energy is being generated out. But what is the main thing? That fission is radiating out very less, means what we can say, the less polluting part to the nature. Okay, less polluting part to the nature. So the less radiation part is there towards the nature, that is why we can use it. Less radiation towards nature, that is why we can think for the future. Secondly, with very small quantity of radioactive elements, a huge quantum of energy can be generated. So what does this indicate? Small or less quantity of raw material gives large or huge supplies huge energy. So it can be considered as an energy for the future. Okay, and lastly, it is low cost energy generation. Why? Because a very less quantum of the raw material is used for the nuclear fusion, and for very small quantum a huge energy generation is being is the outcome. So it is low cost energy generation. So because of these reasons, nuclear power can be considered as a future energy. So I have completed the discussion of all the exercise question answers. Now if you are having any doubts in any of the questions that has been given in your exercise, without any hesitation, just mention it in the comment section. And thank you for following my today's class. Have a nice day.